You know when something is so great, so popular and addictive that you just can't get enough of it. A worldwide phenomenon that claims 99.9% of your attention, and you willingly succumb to its charms, even if it does come at a monthly subscription fee. World of Warcraft was that thing. Not only did you want to play it all the time, you wanted to play it well. You wanted to get to know your class, so you would spend time reading forums, figuring out your talents, farming gold, professions, repeating instances for your best in slots, but that was not enough. World of Warcraft was a thing that people wanted to live in. It's me, I'm people. During your downtime from actually playing the game, you would watch World of Warcraft related content, be it some of the earliest memes known to man, PvP Annihilation compilations, and it was always an undead frost mage with that like Linkin Park music, or that one 009 sound system track. If you know, you know. And you could down it all with some promotional World of Warcraft Mountain Dew, available in wild fruit flavor for the Alliance and citrus cherry flavor for the Horde. Like, it was really taking over. A huge part of this sensation was, of course, WoW machinimas or movies on early YouTube. Now very quickly, machinima in this case is not to be confused with Machinima the company or entertainment network that had like tons of creators under it, including some that did WoW content, but it was later discovered that their contracts were shady and ultimately unfair to their creators, so that was a whole thing, but it's also a whole other world to explore, which we can probably talk about in another video. I'm talking about machinimas, defined as the art of animated narrative films from computer graphics, most commonly using the same engines used by video games. Today we're going to take a trip down memory lane and remember some of the greatest WoW machinimas and their creators, where are they now, and how is similar content created and made relevant today. Before we get started, hi, my name is Angelika. It has been a while. I have moved house. I didn't disappear, I'm back, and as you can see, the Elder Scroll is also here, and so is the bat, so there's no need to panic. Now first things first, how were machinimas created? In the case of World of Warcraft, creators used something called WoW Model Viewer, which gave them a ton of freedom in terms of adding their own backgrounds, posing the models of the characters how they liked, and adding whatever weapons or armor they wanted. Now that's not to say that they exclusively used this tool for the creation of machinima. You'll see that like a lot of the earlier machinimas were created solely like through the game footage, so there's that. But as you can imagine, there really isn't as much freedom when you do it that way. For me, WoW machinimas are like a symbol or the essence of early YouTube. I've talked on this channel a little bit before about how I learned English in World of Warcraft, and a big part of learning, funny enough for me, was through these WoW machinimas. When it came to cartoons and movies, I had access to all of that in Russian anyway, so it didn't really influence me all that much in the beginning, but with machinimas, they were all in English, so you take what you get. I mean, I really loved them. Everything was visual, and I was really engaged because it's World of Warcraft, so, you know, I really couldn't get enough of World of Warcraft, and I couldn't get enough of these machinimas. Aside from YouTube, warcraftmovies.com was really the go-to place for all of your WoW-related content, including machinimas, PvP or PvE, class guides, ridiculous clips, etc. Now, the website today looks like it has been updated since, though it still retains that, like, early 2000s internet feel, but with the rising popularity of YouTube, it was used less and less over the years, which is why you don't really hear about it today. And what sort of machinimas did people make? It was really everything, from short comedy sketches to full-blown series with really unique and diverse concepts that parodied the game, music videos for both existing popular music and music written for and about WoW, totally original songs or like WoWified parodies of existing songs, lots of fun and relatable content on the daily struggles we all went through as we played the game, funny moments, random silly stuff, like anything that you can imagine, really. One of the oldest existing movies that I want to talk about first, and the one that actually inspired me to make this video because I came across it again very recently, is the Here Without You WoW music video. Originally, this was created by a very mysterious user called Dimarok and posted to warcraftmovies.com on the 12th of April 2005. So on that website, we actually see his name was later changed to Suntoast, but originally it was Dimarok. On that particular website, the video stands at over 430,000 views, which is crazy numbers considering the time it was released and also the platform that it's on. This video was later uploaded to YouTube in March of 2006 by a different user who said that he sourced it off of something called File Planet, and today it stands at over 5.5 million views, which again, given the time that it came from and what it is is pretty crazy. I believe that this video was crucial in making the concept of WoW machinimas so widely popular, a cultural shift of sorts. And yet, despite its success, the original creator never went on to make any other movies or at least publish them under their known name. They did thank the viewers for their feedback a couple of years after it was uploaded, but then they just disappeared forever. It's quite the mystery. But whenever anybody starts the conversation about WoW Machinima, whenever anybody's asked about the old ones, the classic ones, this one is always on the list. There's always someone who remembers it, a lot of people, really, and I think that because of that, it was like such a pivotal thing for the WoW Machinima community. It was something that I think really kickstarted it for a lot of people. Now, the whole video itself was created pretty much using the game footage. It follows the story of an undead recalling how he lost his beloved and became a monster. This is a music video for the song Here Without You by Three Doors Down, which, by the way, this video introduced me and probably a lot of other people to the band Three Doors Down. I absolutely love that song. And the credits for some reason were really memorable for me. I remember it was the song Evanescence's My Immortal, which again, I discovered right there. With these machinimas, I won't be able to directly play them for you with the music due to copyright reasons, I think you can imagine, but I really do encourage you to check it out for yourself. I'll do my best to include the links to any movies that I mentioned in this video down below so that you can have your own nostalgia trip. Speaking of discovering music through these WoW music videos, a really big one for myself and that a lot of others found through WoW Machinimas was Jonathan Coulton. Now, this guy makes music in a genre known as nerd rock, and he's like an American folk comedy singer-songwriter. Many of you may not know his name, but you will know his song Still Alive from Portal or Want You Gone from Portal 2. But I discovered him way before both of those songs. And the great thing about his songs was that they were perfect for a storytelling type video to kind of go with them, and because a lot of the subject matters were usually really like geeky or could be expressed in some nerdy way, WoW Machinimas were a fantastic medium to bring them to life. The first of these that I personally discovered was the Code Monkey video uploaded in September of 2006 by the channel Spiff World or Mike Spiff Booth. He was behind all of the main WoW Machinimas for Jonathan Coulton songs, starting with Re Your Brains, uploaded in May of 2006. It was said by Spiff World in the description of each video, Jonathan Coulton was releasing music through something called a Creative Commons license, which did make it possible to use the music in all of these machinimas. These are some of the most iconic WoW music videos in existence, and the music was absolutely perfect for like the goofy look of vanilla WoW in particular. Honestly, I still listen to this music to this day, and not just the songs that had like WoW machinimas to go with it. Again, this was just another artist that I kind of discovered through that, but like if not for the machinimas, I never would have known who this guy is. I don't think he would have ever been on my radar. Now, Jonathan Coulton himself, of course, knew about the machinimas, and I mean, I think they were a really great way to kind of spread the word about him as an artist and his music, so it worked with just the right target audience as well. On his website, I actually found this thread from like 2007 where apparently one of the very first videos, Re Your Brains, was removed from YouTube for copyright infringement, and in the thread, Jonathan himself says that he actually was not the one to report it, and he speculates that it could have been Blizzard. Spiff World later seems to confirm that it looks to have been a false report situation or them getting punked by a YouTube user, but they were thankfully able to restore it after by communicating with YouTube. Now, this is again another relic from like old YouTube times. I actually don't remember how the copyright system worked back then. I know people have talked about it before, I really don't know, but it looks like it was pretty easy to exploit the system where you could just take something down without actually having a lot of real authority to take it down, since neither the original artist nor Blizzard, I believe, would push to have something like that removed. I will leave a link to Spiff World's channel down below. I highly recommend you check out some of his work. The classics like Code Monkey or Tom Cruise Crazy, all of those, they're really great, and if you haven't heard them before, well, you're welcome. There were many other music videos created from music that already existed, and although for me Spiff World and Jonathan Coulton videos are always going to be number one, I do have a great appreciation for the videos that came with WoW song parodies, or songs that were not only given a music video, but rewritten with lyrics to make it about World of Warcraft in some way. Some of these are so iconic that I actually cannot listen to the original song without thinking about the WoW version with the lyrics. When talking about these, the first ones that likely come to mind are the masterpieces such as Hard Like Heroic, parodying The Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang, or MAGE, parodying PIMP by 50 Cent. Both of them came from Mad Cow Productions, sung by Nim, and one of them featuring the legendary Summergale Nessingwary, which was a super well-known name in the WoW parody scene, her most well-known work being on Ulduar alongside Cranius, who we'll talk a little bit more about later. And again, these are all names that are really gonna touch your nostalgia if you've been around in that time and you were in that whole machinima scene and actively watching all of these things and rewatching them. Now, speaking of Ulduar, this was a parody of The Way I Are by Timbaland, and it originally released in 2009. This is a definite community favorite. Again, one of those things that, like, when you bring up WoW Machinima or WoW song parodies, like, this is the one that people will remember. The original upload on Summergale's channel stands at an impressive 10 million views. The machinima that came with it was created by a super talented machinimaist. I think that's it's probably not how you call it, known as Legs. Legs worked on many of the most iconic WoW music videos, so if you were into that, you probably saw her channel name floating around, but if you've never heard her channel name, you've definitely seen her work. Another very notable name in the WoW song parody scene is Charm, who's actually still around today and actively posting WoW-related music content. She dropped some absolute bangers, mostly during the Wrath of the Lich King era, or the peak of WoW as some people call it. We have the classics such as I Kissed an Orc, which was a parody of Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl, or Alex Straza, which is a really great parody of Lady Gaga's Alejandro. Not only were the parodies extremely well written and super funny, the videos that came with them were again really well done, and she actually worked with different machinimaists. Again, I don't know. This is definitely one where I actually cannot listen to the original song anymore without remembering the Charm version. And if I ever hear the intro to any of the originals, I automatically expect to hear the WoW parody version of it. Now, there were a whole lot of other WoW song parodies out there which you would probably recognize, with some honorable mentions being Don't Trust a Rogue, absolutely iconic, or Play Your Class and Pretty Fly for a Draenei. Now, what about original music that was written for WoW and came with machinimas? For that, we need to look at the absolute titan that is Cranius. In 2009, he graced us with his original song Don't Make Me Get My Main, which did take first place in the 2009 BlizzCon movie contest, and deservedly so. The machinima that came along with it is a cinematic masterpiece that was again created by Legs, and it is absolutely no wonder that today it sits at over 8 million views on YouTube. Again, consider the time that it came from, consider what it is, those are crazy numbers. But Cranius had other iconic tracks before this, and one that I discovered him through was actually his first WoW song called Big Blue Dress, where he also made the video himself. Originally, the video was just a lot of PvP footage from Wrathy Basin, so he later actually uploaded a remastered version of it, which just looks higher quality. Another notable one is Darrowshire, where he also made the machinima that goes with it himself. For years, he actually stopped making these until 2 years ago. Out of nowhere, he dropped his track Brill, and the video that goes with it he actually made with his son and his wife. Legs. That's right, so the machinima creator and this songwriter are actually married. A match made in heaven, clearly. Aside from Cranius, another original WoW song that you probably know if you've ever searched for World of Warcraft music in the last, 18 years is That's the World of Warcraft That You Play, and that was done by Ian Beckman. So, okay, this actually isn't an original song, it is a parody of a Weird Al song, but I'd never actually heard the Weird Al song before that, so all I know is That's the World of Warcraft That You Play, and that's why for me, it's just that. The video was uploaded in 2006, and this has over 18 million views. There were 2 other songs that were uploaded after that, the last one being That's the World of Warcraft That You Play version 2, and that was 11 years ago. Let me know in the comments what your favorite WoW Machinima music videos were back in the day. Moving on, music videos were of course just half the content, and the rest of the community produced creative comedic sketches, sometimes short form to laugh at a particular frustrating part of the game, or other more long form content that was actually done in series with storylines and episodes that you had to wait for them to release for you to be able to see it. I briefly mentioned it earlier, but there was a BlizzCon movie contest that creators could submit their machinimas to, and the nominees were showcased at the event where a winner was chosen. Whenever I watched replays of BlizzCon from any particular year, that was the one thing that I would watch, that and the cosplay contest, and I think there used to be a dance contest as well. I think those were the highlights for me. Of course the new releases as well, but you know, the rest of it, seeing the community and what they create, that was like a lot of fun. But as I was saying, with the movie contest that has existed since 2006, there was a further incentive for the community to get really creative. In terms of Machinima series, one that you will likely remember is Dude, Where's My Mount? This was probably one of the biggest series of its kind going, with the first episode being made back in 2004, and so it was also one of the earliest. This even came out before that Here Without Me music video. Episodes used to be uploaded by a channel called Chrono 1632 by the creators, a crew known as Apt P Productions. These guys did create other machinima around WoW and other games as well, like GTA and Halo, but the most popular creation and what really made them blow up was Dude, Where's My Mount? Today, when you search for the series, you actually won't find the original uploads of the episodes. You might see like a trailer or a short clip or like a part of an intro, but that is because in 2007 they announced that they'd actually partnered with Machinima, the company that I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this video.
Hi, we're the crew of Dude, Where's My Mount? My name is Chris. I am the producer, the community relations manager, and a whole lot of extra voices on the show. Anyway, you might be wondering where the show has gone. It's not being posted under Chrono 1632 anymore on YouTube.
Nope.
It's being posted where, Phil?
It's being posted at machinima.com or youtube.com/machinima.
That is correct. And the reason is that we have partnered with them. They are
down here.
Shut up, guys.
It's one of these places.
Anyway, the reason for that is that we've partnered with Machinima.com, and they're going to be hosting all of our shows from here on out. So that's where you'll be able to catch the exclusive launch of episode 5. Pretty cool. So go start watching the show over there. It'll be great fun times.
As you can see, this was a really positive next step for their channel. They were super excited, and this was about 12 years before the company's shady contracts were exposed and they went down. In that way, I think it's a shame, even though it was all re-uploaded to YouTube in 2018, I think that original uploads are priceless in that you have all the original comments from like way back then on them. And if you delete that and if you re-upload it again years later, like you just cannot recreate that. You can't recreate that same vibe. It didn't come from that old YouTube. Like a lot of what makes it such an artifact is just lost in space. I won't go into the details of the storyline if you haven't seen it. I'll just link the re-uploaded episodes down below if you do want to check it out. Another really notable creator in this space, and one that we've mentioned already, is the guy behind That's the World of Warcraft That You Play songs, or Ian Beckman. I'm not sure why, but all of the original uploads of his machinimas have been privated. So, you know, it's such a shame. They were definitely some of my favorites, and again, you can't see all the original comments, and everything that I mentioned before is kind of lost. Any re-uploads that I found are of like really low quality. I'll still link them here below if anybody does want to see them again for a little bit of nostalgia, but you know, it's a shame that the original uploads are gone. It's sort of like a part of the history gets wiped. Azerothian Supervillains was probably the series that most of you will probably remember from that creator. You had Illidan and Kael'thas plotting to take over the world. It was just a really wholesome and sort of innocent machinima series, which I revisited often. It's the sort of really fun and harmless content that you don't really see today, or at least not in the WoW space. When thinking about bigger WoW machinima series in terms of popularity, another creator that comes to mind is Mindflame and the Illegal Danish Super Snack series. The Illegal Danish series came after his first and really successful Zinrath the movie, which won several awards in the Blizzard World of Warcraft movie contest. Though the series has only 2 episodes and kind of like Half-Life never saw the much anticipated 3rd installment, to this day Mindflame is revered as a legendary creator in the space, with comments from back in 2007 appreciating his work for how great it was, and people now experiencing nostalgia when watching it again. I really recommend you check all of those out. Again, I'll leave them in the comments if you do want to see. Now to my favorite creator in this space, Oxhorn. A fun fact about Oxhorn that I discovered like really recently is that he's actually a pretty popular Fallout creator, which I never knew. He's pretty big in the Fallout lore space. Never expected that. It's just such a weird connection. I just always knew him as the WoW Machinima creator, and I honestly didn't think he was doing anything other than that. I just thought that his last like Oxhorn movies uploads were from like 10 years ago and then he disappeared, but I was wrong. His movies were some of the best, and not only did he have the iconic Inventing Swear Words series, he also made songs with music videos and various shorts and other silly videos that together amassed millions of views. The most popular of those would have been the Rothelmel video that today stands at 17 million views, and originally it was uploaded to YouTube on the 2nd of April 2007. If back then you watched any WoW related content, you likely would have clicked and watched this also. There was just something about the thumbnail. So this was a bit about the biggest machinima creators that today have either disappeared or completely moved on to different content. But what about classic machinima creators that are still active in the WoW community today? One that I'm sure you're familiar with is WoW Krendor. Now, Krendor wasn't the earliest machinima creator. In fact, he only really started creating machinimas in the Wrath of the Lich King era and going into Cataclysm in 2009, which is what people say was the true peak of WoW, maybe a bit before Cataclysm. His videos were these short, funny, and often relatable WoW comedy sketches. Sometimes it was something like the story of Nomosaurus, a gnome mage who became a tailor despite his father's wishes, or it was about the frustrations that WoW players faced in everyday activities like PvP and dungeons, or sarcastic guide-style videos as well. When he started making these videos and when I discovered them, I could already speak English and understand everything that he was saying, so this is probably why this is the most memorable channel for me. His videos were really funny, but the worst thing about them was that I had nobody to talk to about them. Besides my brother, who also was a huge fan, but nobody our age at our school played WoW, and so we had to keep that goldmine to ourselves. Krendor never really made full-blown series with episodes and storylines, but he did have recurring characters like Billy or the Go Guy, and I think the shorter format was probably what worked better at the time also. Though Krendor doesn't really make those kind of machinimas anymore, he is still a pretty active creator in the WoW community. He does stream a variety of games pretty regularly on Twitch, but on his YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers, he does this series called Pointless Top 10, which are right up my alley. He finds something random to focus on like sharks or creepy things or chimneys and goes through a top 10 list of those things in different locations across the world in WoW. Now, I haven't actually played retail myself for years, so I'm a bit detached from all these new locations and everything, but I still watch all of these pointless top 10s because even with the stuff from retail in it, it's just such a cozy vibe and it's kind of like nostalgic in the way that it's that kind of content about WoW. Machinimas aren't the only thing that he's known for, however, as he did have various other projects like podcasts or his old Truth Rage videos and the interview videos known as the Fishing with Krendor series. In the Dragonflight expansion, they added a really sweet tribute to him, an NPC known as Krend the Pointless, who sits on a boat fishing. Nixium is another creator that came about around the same time as Krendor. Today, Nixium makes a lot of video essay style content, mostly about WoW in its current state, with some reactions and top 10s sprinkled in there amongst other things. The Nixium Machinima channel also has some of his re-uploaded machinimas on it, where he had collaborated with other creators in the community, such as Mookluk. What are some of your favorite older WoW machinima creators that still make content about WoW today? Before we talk about new WoW content, here are some honorable mentions that most of you have probably seen if you were at all in this WoW machinima scene at the time. The Internet is For, from the Impalers YouTube channel, the Grind series from the Oblivious films, and World of Warcraft by Lagspike Films. So now we come to 2025. What sort of WoW machinimas are made today? One really notable channel that came about in the last few years for me is Azimus. Now, his channel has existed since 2009 and there are some WoW related videos on it from way back then, but it was only around 3 years ago with the release of TBC Classic that he carved out a really clever niche for himself and started gaining popularity with his videos. Here's the thing about making comedic WoW Classic type content today. It's all been said and done before, and bringing something new or fresh to the table at this stage is really complicated. Azimus, however, did manage to find a way to make his content feel fresh and relevant today. It's 2005 and you create a Night Elf character. It's 2005 and you discover Goldshire. It is 2005 and you're playing World of Warcraft. This is a series of very specific, nostalgic, short videos with familiar and relatable imagery from what it actually felt like to play vanilla WoW, which captured the innocence and the simplicity of that time. It's a bit sarcastic, it's naive, and it's a cool sort of retro type video that you go and you watch it and you say, you know, that's kind of cool that somebody thought of that. He did also make relatable videos about the modern classic servers and, again, some sarcastic sketches about the current state of WoW that really nicely captured the frustrations that some of the community had with the incoming changes and additions to the game, as well as some other silly and fun stuff. I think his channel is a really great example of how this sort of classic WoW machinima style content can be adapted for the modern WoW player, with a bit of a focus on the nostalgia as well for those that have been playing for years. Mostly he just films his videos from in-game directly, and it gives them that special feel. It's funny, it's relatable, entertaining, and one of the better WoW channels to have risen in the last few years. Another modern channel that I want to mention here is Captain Grimm. Now his channel has been around since 2016, which in my opinion is the point where those glory days of WoW Machinima were kind of winding down, but he had some really successful machinimas in the retail version of WoW, which even though I stopped playing retail there, it's still nice to kind of see people keep that sort of content up, like just for tradition's sake even. Unsurprisingly, however, most of his highest viewed videos are related to classic WoW. You know, there's things like classic versus retail machinimas, and I think that's to do with the audience being more receptive to this sort of content, specifically in the classic space. A lot of the classic community comes from way back when, and it is nostalgic to go back to all of your favorite old WoW machinimas, and you know, there is also that desire for fresh content adapted to what classic WoW is now. And that's kind of where Captain Grimm fills that particular niche. I also just think that the classic version of the game has a simplicity that maybe is just better suited for this type of content, both the creation side and the consumption of it. But yeah, this is just another example of a really good channel that has this sort of content today, and it retains the vibe of older WoW machinimas, but it does a really good job to make it engaging for viewing in 2024 or 2025. Sorry. As with the rest of the channels that I mentioned in this video, I will link all the content down below so that you guys can see it for yourself, check it out, see the modern channels, and maybe I would also be interested to hear from you guys if you have any modern WoW Machinima channels that you'd recommend. And that's really it for this sort of throwback or a summary of the kind of content that had us all in a chokehold if we played World of Warcraft like way back then. I think that this is an important thing to talk about and look back on because it really takes a special kind of game to inspire so much creativity from the community and have a whole world of content around that is user generated. Something that the community can actually invest itself in outside of literally playing the game. Looking back on it now and seeing the views that those videos have accumulated over the years, you really need to stop and appreciate the scale of the whole thing. Keep in mind, 100,000 views now and 100,000 views back then were two very different things. And that's without counting the views that came from warcraftmovies.com, which again, considering the platform that it is and that it was able to garner so many views, I just think that's a bit crazy. We have seen this very much so with other things like Minecraft, lots of song parodies, sketches, machinimas, and another one that I personally didn't engage with myself would be Roblox, perhaps on a smaller scale. A more modern example is probably Fortnite, and it's crazy to think of that and sort of put it into perspective, like what WoW truly was for its time. Like think about what Fortnite was, and now think about what World of Warcraft was, and I mean what it still kind of is on a different scale now, but it wasn't like this super specific thing that only super specific people enjoyed. It was very much this universally appealing game that all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds could get into. And I think that this content, these machinimas, are a real testament to that. This sort of thing isn't as appreciated now simply because we have more advanced technology for it, and I think you have to go more out of your way to get people to pay attention to it. Hence the examples that I gave earlier of Azimus and Captain Grimm. I think they found a really good way to take an old, outdated concept and make something fresh and enjoyable for viewing today. Back then, when YouTube was only a new thing, I remember watching something like Sims 2 music videos. Those were literally just done with footage directly from in-game and with a song that was super popular at the time, and you'll find them now and they'll have like millions of views and they would have been uploaded like 18 or 19 years ago. People still remember they exist. It was just the geniuses that found out how to put footage from the game into Windows Movie Maker and then put a song on top of it, and that was it. Others watching it thought that it was like super impressive and fun, and you didn't have something like this before YouTube and people couldn't get enough of it. You know, a mix of your favorite songs and your favorite games, like what more could you want? This whole video I think is a throwback to like a simpler, more innocent time on the internet. But yeah, that's really about it for this topic. I have been gone for a really long time, I'm really sorry, but hopefully I'm back now, so we will be seeing more regular uploads. Thanks to everyone again for all of your continued support. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you all in the next one. Be seeing you, bye!